It's Fundy Fridays on the track.
I feel like I can sum them up in the statements of slay girl slay, you're a goddess, you're a queen, you can do no wrong, you can do anything, absolutely anything.
Casual hookups, drugs, and alcohol.
Travel the world, have 3 dogs, you know, anything, absolutely anything.
Don't care about your beauty, destroy your beauty. Beauty is a social construct. It's about having a messy purse, a messy car, dirty dishes in the sink constantly, dirty laundry all over the house, and just dirt, mess, clutter, everything, everywhere. That is not ladylike.
200 years ago, the most beautiful woman that you would see or have in your mind might have been your second cousin. Anything, absolutely anything. You know, just like this crazy, crazy intense belief that anything is possible.
Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I am Jen and this is Fundy Fridays, and here on my channel we talk about different aspects of Christian fundamentalism while I do my makeup. Today's episode is actually sponsored by Hunt a Killer, which is a subscription-based murder mystery game, and I think you guys are really gonna love it and I can't wait to talk to you about it, but we're gonna touch on that later. Right now, Mrs. Midwest. So today's episode is about Caitlin Huber, better known by her online handle, Mrs. Midwest. She is a lifestyle vlogger whose content is centered on the concept of traditional femininity. And while I guess there's nothing technically wrong with that, in recent times, that sort of thing has taken on a much darker connotation. With only some light Googling, it turns out that there is significant evidence that she might be white supremacist. Okay, I'll try not to say it. Yes, I am fully aware of the weight of this accusation, but I promise I can back this up. I also want to shout out some videos and resources that have helped me for the research of this video. Jimmy Snow, God is Gray, Gabs with Abigail, CC Marie. There's quite a few others, but I gleaned most of my information from them, and I want to thank you guys. And also, of course, shout out to our Fundy Snark Uncensored and the wonderful Jenna on my Discord, because they have also helped contribute very significantly to helping me find stuff about Mrs. Midwest. Mrs. Midwest was born in 1995. I haven't been able to find her birthday, but she seems like a Taurus. I don't know. Caitlin comes from a non-denominational Christian background. She said she used to be part of a Reformed church. I don't know what church she goes to now, nor is it none of my business. She does sprinkle in her Christianity every now and then, thus giving me an opening to do an episode about her. Oh, and one more thing. I know, there's too many things before we get started. This episode topic was chosen by my lovely patrons. Every month, I put up a poll of a few topics and to gauge your all's interest, and if you're a patron you get to vote one of those topics. May's topic has already been voted on and it's Hobby Lobby, so we get to look forward to that next month. Caitlin was born in America, then moved to Canada with her family and lived in a rural Dutch community. Then she returned to the US to go to Calvin College in Michigan. From what I've read online, Calvin College kind of has a fundy reputation, but to be fair, I didn't do much research into it, so if that's your school and it's actually awesome, then I'm sorry. Caitlin's love story with her husband is about as classic as a butter dish. Story goes that she met him on a class trip to Jerusalem, they fell in love, and quickly got married. And another thing that is not my business, but she does talk about it online a lot, is how she was kind of financially cut off from her parents because they disapproved of her husband. So let's hope it's worth it, I guess. And although you don't see him in her vlogs or on her Instagram hardly ever, it is notable that her husband is a police officer. And although we're not going to go there, just know that I have opinions. Coming straight from the underground. Today's video is going to be broken up into 2 parts, gender and race. So I'm sure the comment section is going to be lit. Caitlin's channel rose to prominence in 2019. She became quite popular with her videos about traditional gender roles, homemaking, and how to be classic. On her channel, she gives advice on how to sit and stand like a lady, ditching Netflix in favor of a podcast, probably Jordan Peterson, and how to give off the air of feminine mystery. Take this clip, for example, where she kind of accidentally proves that gender is performative.
My biggest tip for this, it might sound silly, but it is to record yourself as you do an activity, like washing the laundry, doing the dishes, walking around your house, etc. Then watch back the footage and see your posture. I have to tell you that I've always prided myself on good posture, but it wasn't until I began vlogging that I realized sometimes I would lose that posture and I would begin to hunch forward. Now, I don't believe in putting everything on show with the chest, but I don't think that means we need to hide our feminine figures or be ashamed of the way God made the female body. So raise your chest up a little bit, keep your shoulders back, and record yourself as you do an activity.
Gee, Caitlin, have you ever stopped to consider that if you have to force something that badly, maybe it's not meant to be? Caitlin still maintains her blog, but pseudo-intellectual prose can only get you so far when your suspected secondary audience is incels.
Because my message can be kind of like intense for some people, like the things I believe, I like to pad it with skincare and like how I clean my house.
All jokes aside, the misogyny on Caitlin's channel is rampant and direct. She often utilizes the same talking points as incels when expressing her worldview.
Femininity and masculinity are not opposites. They are complementary. And this is a huge truth we cannot forget. Femininity and masculinity were created to complement each other so they can work together to build the world, to raise kids, to raise the next generation, so people can live a fun, happy, kind, community-filled life.
What she's talking about is complementarianism, and it's the opposite of egalitarianism, wherein in egalitarianism, the man and woman are equal in the marriage, and in complementarianism, the men and women are not quite equal, but each has their own separate things that they're good at, and this is used as a way to frame it as a cool and awesome thing that we should all do. See, women are good at this, men are good at this, we should work together, when instead that's just sexist. So you see complementarianism praised highly in Girl Defined, Paul and Morgan, anywhere where pretext to this is submission to a man. This is different from the idea of the realm of domesticity, which is a concept that gives women domain over the home in regards to domestic work. This concept acknowledges that women are superior to men in regards to maintaining the home, and as such, it is only logical that they are relegated to the homemaking role as such. It's an outdated concept from a bygone era, but you see echoes of it, today.
A lot of these young modern girls who aren't trying to be feminine anymore, their places are really dirty. And I truly wonder if there's a genetic component, not just genetic, but a natural component to cleaning.
I have nothing to lose. I don't work. I can say what I want. And I do think that cleaning and nesting is more feminine. And I do think that it's genetic.
And this brings me to gender roles, everyone's favorite topic. The reason why it's so harmful for content like Mrs. Midwest to even exist is because it enforces gender roles. Even if she says that it's a choice to be a homemaker, she still also says stuff like cleaning is genetic and that all women have within them this desire and drive to be feminine. And, gender roles hurt more than just women. They hurt men as well. And not just in the normal way that fundamentalism hurts everyone. Why are men treated like they are just these horny, stupid, uncontrollable children that we have to keep an eye on and make sure that they're not corrupted? I'm sure that sucks if you're a guy and someone thinks that about you. In even smaller ways, like boys are not supposed to cry, or if they wash their ass, they're gay. That's toxic masculinity. It's not just a buzzword that Fox News likes to use. It's an actual tangible concept. Of course, it goes without saying that gender roles are harmful to trans people as well. Unfortunately, being any flavor of queer is not compatible with the red pill trad wife narrative. It just does not compute because they operate in a black and white, binary, very strict worldview. Even though it's kind of ironic because in this next clip that I'm about to show you, she acknowledges that certain traits are inherently seen by society as masculine or feminine and are praised or criticized because of that. And this is her opinion, not mine. I don't think that certain traits have to belong to anything.
So our culture really celebrates masculine traits when they're seen in women. So when a woman is strong, when she's a career woman, when she's a leader, provider, CEO, all those things, we celebrate those women and we say, oh my gosh, they're so amazing. They're the pinnacle of woman. But the thing is, that pinnacle of woman is displaying extreme masculinity. And so it kind of feels like in order to be a really good woman, you have to be really masculine. But what do those women do? Women like me
who I don't want to be a CEO. I don't want to be in charge of a ginormous company. I don't want to be a boss babe. I don't want to be like grinding, as they say all the time. I want to be a wife, a mother, run a household. I want to maybe have some sort of artisanal thing that I do from home. You know, I don't want to be traveling, jet setting around the world all the time. I want to be at home, building into my community, building into my family. So what does a woman like that do in a culture where she feels so marginalized?
Oh, boo-hoo! Let me play a sad song for you on the world's smallest violin.
Feeling like I'm not a real woman because I don't want to be a lawyer, doctor, blah, 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 blah. What does that woman do? Where does she go? When you look at the masculine journey, it's already set up. You know, there's the idea of a hero's journey. A guy starts from nothing. He's a boy. He's unattractive. Has no skills, no money, nothing to his name. And throughout his journey, he overcomes obstacles and he gains skills and he defeats the final whatever it is, and he becomes a man, a hero.
All right, this is Trixie's new blush palette. Let's see if it's any good. I'm gonna try the purple shade because I'm the purple bitch. I mean, I just look a little feverish, but whatever. We'll move on.
Imagine yourself as if you had a set of butterfly or angel wings on your back. And the key is you're going to want to keep those angel wings upright and not hunched forward. You never want your shoulder blades to be angled like this. You always want them pulled back.
I don't know what book she's reading, but I personally get all of my gender theory from Professor Fred Durst of Limp Bizkit University. So I believe in all of the genders.
Hey ladies, hey fellas, and the people that don't give up. All the lovers, all the haters, and all the people that call themselves players. Hot mamas, pimp daddies, and the people rolling up in caddies. Hey rockers, hip hoppers, and everybody all around the world.
Another troubling clip I found is her, what seems like talking shit about fertility treatments and adoption. You know what? It's easier to just play the clip than trying to explain it.
All right, the third lie that society tells young women is to not consider their fertility window. The common argument is that women aren't just here to make babies. And you know, while I understand that sentiment, I would also say that that's a very sad and depressing way to look at the concept of motherhood. They don't like the science behind the fact that a woman is fertile between her first period. It starts to go down when she's 25 and it goes down again at 30 and again at 35, okay? So your fertility will go down as you age. If you're a young woman and you're planning on having babies after 35, after you've done your career, please reconsider that. There is a huge possibility you might not be very fertile at that age. It can often be very expensive for families, and instead of using that amazing career money for trips to Europe or a new house, you're gonna be using it on IVF treatments and adoption. And while I do think the modern medicine is an incredible, wonderful thing, I don't think that that should be your plan A. So if you want a biological family of your own, please consider your fertility window. I'm not encouraging teen pregnancies. I believe pregnancy is best left within marriage, as I am a Christian. But I don't think that it's right to tell young women to constantly delay marriage and babies. You can delay a career.
To be fully transparent, she did say some other stuff in the video that I cut for time. And she also says society treats women like they're cattle just making babies. And I just want to point out that I've never actually seen that in greater mainstream society. I don't think that women are treated like that. What I have seen though is in fundamentalist culture, the women kind of are treated like that. While all babies are considered blessings, in quiverful culture, it is a numbers game, and they really do advocate for outbreeding non-Christians to create an army for Christ. And for somebody who hates feminism so much, she sure does make it sound appealing.
Now, I don't think everyone needs to be at home. That's not what I'm saying. But I do think that the propaganda that being a housewife is akin to being in jail is ridiculous. That's not true, and I don't think that we need to tell young women that. I think instead of doing that to people, we just need to give them the options of doing what they want. So instead of shaming people to not be housewives, why don't we just say, hey, you can go have a career or you can be a homemaker, and both things are honorable because we truly support all women, and that's what I'm about on this channel.
Yep, you just described feminism, Caitlin. It's literally the choice to stay at home or have a career. You just described it.
I don't know where that got mixed up in translation, but I think all women includes homemakers.
You know what, Caitlin? I'll do you one even better. Feminists believe in equality for everyone. That includes sex workers, transgender folks, people who are incarcerated, neurodivergent friends, people without homes, those with disabilities, intersex and non-binary people, any member of the alphabet mafia, immigrants, those who get abortions, people with addictions, asylum seekers. Believe it or not, people we don't agree with also deserve rights. And don't get me started with the liberals are attacking free speech. We're not taking you to the Supreme Court to challenge your right to free speech. We're just bitching about you online. Furthermore, I hate when Caitlin throws around terms like third wave as if she knows what they mean. And the political ideologies between the first, second, and third wave of feminism are varied across all things like porn, sex work, career versus staying at home, access to abortions. She's talking out of her ass, okay? While we're not going to spend the rest of this episode diving into feminist theory, it's an actual thing that you can study. It's not just a fucking buzzword for you to throw around whenever you want to throw women under the bus. So now the question is, how did Caitlin go from a run-of-the-mill pick-me girl to a raging Nazi simp?
Don't joke about that.
Now I'm going to have Professor James explain some things for you, and just know that there are plenty of sympathetic portrayals of incels online, and this is not going to be one of them.
Oh, hey there. What's up? Jen wanted me to come in and explain some of the terms you're going to need to know to get the rest of the stuff that she's going to talk about in the video. Starting out with that, oh, and by the way, if you value human decency, I'd turn back now. Consider yourself warned. Involuntary celibacy, hence the term incels. That is their core unifying view of the world. Now, this is a primarily online subculture of people, mostly men, who believe that they are involuntarily celibate, meaning that they would like sexual intimacy and romance with women, but they are being denied it because of social factors outside of their control. They have a variety of different reasons for why they're fundamentally challenged in the art of wooing the opposite sex, everything from bone structure to personality traits to wrist thickness. There's a lot of different explanations in their world, but it all leads back to the fact that they are disenfranchised sexually. So this tends to lead to a pretty contentious relationship with women because they believe they're being denied their sexual birthright by women who have commodified and attempted to advance their own sexual expression past the incels see as their station. I know that's a little strange. Basically what it boils down to is feminism taught you all that you can seek out better sexual partners than me, and I'm not happy about that. This tends to lead to incels pointing a lot of aggression and outward disdain for women. They will often cope with their feelings of sexual disadvantage in a variety of ways. Some of them will just loathe in self-pity, the old lay down and rot thing. Some of them will seek out the help of pickup artists or guides on the internet to teach them the secret tricks to manipulating the female, femoid as they call it, psyche. Some of them will turn violent. We've heard cases of that. I won't say names. We are aware of cases where inceldom has turned violent and led to the deaths of several people. Throughout the community, no matter what they try to say, there is always a latent support for violence against women. While not every incel maybe advocates for rape and murder, anyone who ascribes the label does recognize that that is a part of their community and that a lot of individuals in the community express those views. All right, now that takes us on to the femcel, which, in order to enforce the all-important binaries that are critical to the process, I will write that in red. Femcels are the much rarer female version of the incel species, a little bit more prominent later after the initial male incel movement. There is some significant overlap with the male incel movement in terms of things like lookism, which is the general understanding that some people just have the looks genetically to be able to succeed in developing sexual relationships with the opposite sex in this case. Those are feelings that cross both femcel and the incel world. That being said, the two worlds are also engaged in a pretty contentious relationship. Obviously, the disdain that has been bred in the incel community towards women. Now, you may be asking yourself how all of this ties into Mrs. Wood West. Now we need to introduce the third part of our grouping, the alt-right. Many of you probably remember this term from just a couple years ago, but the alt-right, just for a basic understanding, I'm not giving a full detailed breakdown because I'd like you to be able to stop looking at your computer sometime today. The alt-right was a political movement that sprouted up in and around the time of the election of Donald Trump in 2016. The roots sprouted before that, but they really took hold and flourished moving into 2017, 2018. The alt-right could be described primarily as the new wave of young Trump-supporting conservative Americans, mostly white, a significant presence in the upper class, although there is a spread there. This group was, beyond bad memes and violent rallies, this group was also known for sharing some views with the incel community, most notably the Make America Great Again slogan of the alt-right / Trump movements, coinciding very well with the common incel trope of pining for how things used to be, where women were available to men more through force or social pressure than through choice. These two views of 1950s political and social relationship structures coincided really, really well. And since the alt-right was a political movement, and political movements tend to be looking for votes in this country, the alt-right was a group looking to recruit, and they found a hotbed of recruits in the incel movement. So, how do we tie all of those things together? Well, you start to see that come together. Wrong marker. There we go. If I had written that in blue, I think I would have had an aneurysm. The red pill is one way you can start to see all of these things tie together. And so the red pill establishes the incels with the alt-right to a certain degree. The red pill says that incels have the truth about society. They are tuned into it, just like the alt-right believes they are tuned in to society and the dark truths that we all try to hide from, that there is a social hierarchy, that men do hold dominion over women. Now, for the younger viewers in our audience, the term red pill refers to the idea from the film The Matrix that one can take either the blue pill to return to the safe, comfortable reality they know, or take the red pill to be exposed to the uncomfortable truths about their society. Incels and the alt-right believe that by taking the red pill and rejecting things like feminism, social justice, and social progress, they are accepting a harsh truth that the United States and the people of the United States need a structure that was in place before all of our current social progress was made. So they want to make America great again like it was back in the 1950s, when incels believe social pressure would have allowed them a better chance at the hyper-submissive wives that they so pine for nowadays. And the red pill and the usage of that matrix ideology is very important because it allows incels and the alt-right to feel like they are the ones accepting the real, honest truth, and that you all are terrible sheeple who don't understand that they need to leave their safe spaces and learn how the real world works. That's how they play the game. Now we start to see a bridge, Midwest, as she crosses the gap and uses the same dog whistles and virtue signals and straw men that they do, and so links herself in as the femcel red pill wife, is probably the better term, the red pill wife connection to the incel alt-right connection that has already been in place. So when we talk about those things I just said, some people may not know what I'm talking about. So let's talk about dog whistles. The key to remember about a dog whistle is to think about what it's actually describing. A dog whistle is something that only certain creatures can hear. And just like that, a dog whistle is coded language that specifically ties to a subculture or group. They aren't always negative, but we tend to think of them in the negative. Coded messages is another way to think of it. Certain people will understand the context and be listening for it, and those who aren't part of the in-group will be left out. And that's why dog whistles are so important to groups like neo-Nazis, because they allow for the hateful rhetoric to spread without being picked up by all of the normies. So this we can think of as a kind of virtue signaling. It's another phrase you need to be aware of. What is virtue signaling? Not as awful as some people make it out to be. Virtue signaling is an overt statement of beliefs. It's an expression that you believe something and that you support a certain cause enough to at least state it out loud in a public forum, if not by demonstrating greater support, such as a donation or a boycott of an organization that does not support that cause. Literally everyone does it. Most channels are it. There's a fair amount of virtue signaling here. Nothing wrong with it. We kind of want you to know what we believe and what we think. The key thing to remember about virtue signals is that their goal is to draw in a particular audience. As you express your virtues, as you signal your virtues, people will pick up on that signal and then either be drawn to you or migrate away from you as their virtues either align with yours or do not. So, what's one really effective way to virtue signal? Something else you need to know. It's getting fun, isn't it? It's a straw. Put your hands up if you've seen Wizard of Oz. A straw man is, you can think of it kind of like a target dummy, but for arguing. It's a general conception of our opposition in a debate, the people who don't believe what we believe. But since they're not actually there with us, it's built on our assumptions about how they think. And oftentimes it makes it much easier to construct your arguments when you're debating against how you think your enemy thinks versus how they actually feel and believe. How does this come into play with Mrs. Midwest? Well, we see it all the time in her arguments and discussions. So for example, think about Mrs. Midwest's family-hating, man-hating feminist. This person likely doesn't exist, at least not in the sheer numbers that she wants you to believe it does. This individual is probably just a gross caricature of people she doesn't agree with and hasn't felt the need to engage with. And since she doesn't bring people on or cite sources from individuals that don't agree with her, we can assume that she doesn't have a very good grasp of what people who disagree with her actually think. This is really handy because it allows you to avoid those pesky counterpoint arguments that can be tricky if you don't actually know what you're talking about. And overall, it's very useful for people like Mrs. Midwest. A logical fallacy is a common failure of reasoning attached to a certain argument or structure for an argument. It's an area where if you're not paying attention, it can catch you and sound very, very realistic or very natural, but once put under greater scrutiny, it tends to fall apart. Keep an eye out for these, especially when you're watching people like her. So for example, I can express a logical fallacy with one of my favorite psychological studies of all time, or psychological concepts at least. Did you know that there is a very strong correlation in the United States between ice cream sales and murder rates? It's true. So obviously we can assume that ice cream causes people to kill, and we need to make ice cream illegal. That's the logical fallacy, because I'm ignoring outside factors like the fact that ice cream tends to sell in the summer when it's hot and people are known to be more agitated and aggressive, and a whole host of other factors. So that would be one logical fallacy. In that case, it would be assuming causation when I don't really have the basis to do so. So hope that clears it up for you. All right, and to end my little portion here, we're gonna do a lightning round of shitty alt-right incel dog whistles, starting with Pepe. You know what he is. He's an ugly frog. Jen, put him on the screen. What's next? Based. Based means good. It means that this person agrees with my incel ideas. What's next? Me not taking the cap off the marker. White genocide. Oh, this is... I don't like this anymore. Okay. I don't want to write this. I'm not going to write the rest. Basically, it's just a buzzword that Nazis use to claim that white people are in danger despite all of the logical evidence that says that's like the opposite of what's happening. Worth fighting for. That's a phrase you'll hear a lot. White babies are worth fighting for is a thing they'll say. That's a dog whistle, like we talked about earlier. This is getting dark. The 14 words, don't Google it. I'm not going to write it on the board. Don't Google it. It's racist and bad. You know, there's more stuff written on the script here, like dog whistles and racist stuff, and I don't want to read it anymore, so I'm not gonna. Jen, this is the end of my part.
So now that we know what fempill, tradwife, alt-right are, let's explain some of the more common narratives that they advance. For one comes the idea that women are stressed in their jobs and their education because their real destiny is to be a homemaker. Not only is this highly problematic just on its face, it's particularly dangerous coming from someone like her. I'm 22 and I knew I was stressed for years and never satisfied with my life throughout my college life. I've realized the pressure of today's society to become more masculine and strong and independent independent has stressed me out and isn't really who I want to be. I also have difficulty with fitting in my own age group. I'm the only one who wants to have a family early. I want to get married early and I want to have a long-term partner rather than have fun until my 30s. What is this fun anyways? It's all brainwashing to ruin our youth and get us depressed and stressed. I do not want any of that fun. I want love and a family. Caitlin's target audience might be incels. If you look at her comment section, she has a really huge influence on young girls. They may not be her target demographic, but they're listening to her. As a 15-year-old, your videos are so inspiring. The way you live your life as a strong yet feminine woman is exactly how I want to live when I'm older. You are such a great role model for teen girls like me who are pushed into this kind of anti-feminine society. Your videos really just make me so happy, and I know I am not the only teen who feels this way. Thanks for all you do. We tend to hear about the radicalization of boys online, but we should be mindful that it does happen to girls. And it's worthy to examine why young women might find her message so appealing. The alt-right and the trad-femme digital subcultures do offer some avenues for them to develop power and identity. Perhaps they feel special being coveted by white men like that, being told that they're going to save the world by producing beautiful white babies. That's a real thing that white supremacists believe, by the way. And the spread of that message has gotten even further, using the coded language and dog whistles on sites like Instagram and Tumblr. You know Tumblr. It's a cursed, wretched place where polar opposite aesthetics mingle in the tags, where furries become Nazis, where Luigi makes the brave choice to carry Mario's baby. It's a place where the beauty of cottagecore has been slowly corrupted into, trad femme. Some femme-pilled women, as well as lots of incels and plenty of people on the alt-right, pine for yesteryear. And a lot of these women believe that they've been cheated out of the 50s mom and homemaker lifestyle. We shouldn't underestimate how some young white women, when faced with this bleak economic landscape and then presented with a rosy image of 1950s domestic bliss, they look back to the 1960s Frieden era feminism as having cheated them out of a family and a luxurious lifestyle, all supported by a single income. The men on the alt-right might point to diversity initiatives and mass immigration as having dismantled their career prospects. The women are furious that they have to consider career prospects at all. Tradwives also point to the ways that the half-finished work of the sexual revolution has brought about not just male, but also female discontents. Gosh, if only incels could figure out that the real red pill is realizing that gender is a social construct and that chaos is the general order of the universe. It's about learning to stop living your life for the binaries of old and start exploring yourself as a whole intersectional being. Oh, and it's super fucking ironic that incels and Nazis are obsessed with the red pill, blue pill metaphors because The Matrix was written by two trans sisters and the whole movie is an allegory for, you get it. The thing is, nobody really has a problem with Mrs. Midwest giving you cleaning or cooking tips, lackluster they may be. Nobody really cares that she wants to live in this 24/7 traditional femininity cosplay fantasy. Here are some excerpts from the book Sisters in Hate, which a subscriber recommended to me. White supremacy lurks in mediocrity and civility as much as it fuels slurs and violence. It conceals itself in the false promises of Christian kindness, race blindness, and e pluribus unum. In the digital age, this happens both online and off. A person might have a series of encounters with members of other races that they find unpleasant, and a real or virtual friend might suggest evaluating those experiences in the context of hate. Problem with Mrs. Midwest is the paper trail of overt white supremacy that she's littered all over the internet. And once again, shout out to our Fundy Snark Uncensored for getting me these receipts. Seriously, you guys have such good investigation skills. You'd probably make great detectives. Actually, I wonder if you have what it takes to hunt a killer. This video is actually sponsored by Hunt a Killer. It is a subscription-based murder mystery box where you can solve a cold case from the comfort of your warm home. With each box, players get new puzzles to crack, codes to translate, physical evidence, police reports, crime scene photos, you name it. There's even a virtual desktop that allows you to read transcripts of the evidence, hear audio clips and more, and that is actually very helpful because sometimes the evidence you get is written really tiny in cursive. Hunt a Killer spares no expense when it comes to building the mystery. It is incredibly immersive and I am not lying to you, I am obsessed with it. Seriously, it's the most fun I've had in months and I have depression. Have you ever been watching a true crime show or a podcast and been overwhelmed by feelings that you could solve it yourself? Well, it's time to put your money where your mouth is. It's like Dungeons and Dragons and an ARG had a baby. New to mystery solving, don't stress. If you get stumped, there are hints and access to exclusive Facebook groups where you can discuss with fellow players and solve the case together. You can play this game alone or with friends. I personally think it's more fun with friends because sometimes it just takes a new pair of eyes to crack a code. And this game will keep you talking all through the week. I know that the second that my friends were done with it, we were texting each other about ideas we were having. After I'm done filming this ad, I'm probably gonna go crack open the third box. Hopefully they won't get mad at me for skipping ahead. One of the things that's really cool about Hunt a Killer is that part of the proceeds for every box go to the Cold Case Foundation, an organization that is dedicated to help solving real-life cold cases. John Douglas, the inspiration for the Netflix show Mindhunter, is actually the chairman of the board. I did manage to secure probably the best vanity code ever. So if you go to huntakiller.com/fundy and use code FUNDY at checkout, you can get 20% off your first box. Once again, thank you Hunt a Killer for sponsoring this episode. When I'm done with Curtain Call, I'm probably gonna buy some of the older boxes because there's one called Class of '98 and it's about a murder at a high school reunion and I really wanna play that one. Back to our regularly scheduled programming. Here are some screenshots of things that Mrs. Midwest has posted on Reddit on the R Red Pill Women subreddit. She's also posted to R Dead Bedrooms and R Christianity and R Red Pill Wives.
I'm a happily married, heterosexual Christian woman. When I was a freshman in college, I had an attraction to another female camp counselor I was working with one summer. I just avoided her most of the time and kept myself busy. It was very strange and hasn't happened in any other instance in my life. I just tried not to take it too seriously or freak out too much. I felt no need to change my entire identity just because I felt an attraction to her. Feeling an attraction is much different than lusting or fantasizing. Don't be too hard on yourself. 3 small things that can make you more feminine immediately. Learn how to cook. Wear your hair nice all the time and start wearing more colors in your wardrobe. When you cook, you have to serve the food, oftentimes clean, and always provide something delicious. This will help you learn how to serve and be gentle, as well as express your creativity. Next, nice hair translates to a woman who can keep herself clean and beautiful. Nothing is more anti-man than a greasy, messy bun or flat hair. Make your hair look thick and healthy, and this will automatically translate to femininity. Finally, wearing colors other than blacks and grays will add a feminine flair to your style and probably your mindset. Sometimes it's hard to change your inner thinking without putting on a bit of a costume to help us along. Wear whites, light blues, pinks, purples, reds, etc., and you just may feel yourself becoming more feminine. Red Pill helped me realize that even though I was sexy and turned heads at my comfortable eating whatever I want weight, I could be better. I was undisciplined when I ate whatever I wanted when I wanted. Since losing 8 pounds, I've noticed a much sweeter attitude from all men I encounter. I seem more delicate to them, and they are protective and polite. Being over 200 pounds as a woman seems incredibly unhealthy and unattractive, visually and mentally. Men look at your appearance to gauge your health, but your appearance also speaks volumes about your character. You might be too needy. My ex-boyfriend would wait on me hand and foot and be nice to me no matter what. I never wanted to have sex with him. My husband, on the other hand, since I have met him, has always put me in my place, refused to put up with my shenanigans, and always put himself into the equation. Needless to say, he's never had to ask for sex once. We're crazy in bed. Ex-boyfriend was a jacked male model. I'm not kidding, he modeled for money. Husband is a bald 24-year-old with a dad bod. It's all about personality. Don't let her run all over you and control you. She will never find that sexy.
It's not just what she has said online either. She follows, or at least used to follow, a lot of these European pride, white pride, white supremacist accounts. She also follows and endorses the transformed wife, who we know advocates for marital rape, child abuse, all that jazz. And she loves Stefan Molyneux and Jordan Peterson and Yogi-O Abs. I mean, do we need more evidence? Her new baby that she just had is named Bowden. To the unassuming ear, that sounds like a mispronunciation of Biden. You know, maybe she's a Democrat now. Unfortunately, this poor baby shares the same name as the popular racist phrase, Blut und Boden, which is German for blood and soil. This is the same phrase that the Charleston Tiki Torch Nazis were shouting. I will give her the benefit of the doubt, and let's just hope that this is a coincidence, and maybe this is a family name. Perhaps the final nail in the coffin is that she seems to have a great friendship with Yogi-O Abs. He is a notorious red pill misogynist who likes to go after literal angels like Brenda from God is Grey. On his header, you can see that he makes content about patriarchy, culture, and Christ. I teach women how to escape feminist brainwashing brainwashing and help men become kings in their love lives. Zero tolerance policy for feminism. Here, I talk about societal issues related to feminism, primarily and sometimes politics, and at other times, Christianity. Shout out to God is Gray for actually finding this clip that I'm about to show you.
A year ago, I wanted to lose about like 10 pounds, like just a little bit of that extra fluff. And so I started looking online for like hardcore motivation, like you don't look good, like lose the weight. And that's how I discovered Return of Kings. I started
That's
reading
hilarious.
those blog posts that were like women who gained all this weight and it destroyed their looks. And I was like kind of shocked because the society tells you like, oh, if you have like pretty face, if you have curves, like you're good looking, end of story. But on Return of Kings, I kind of learned, no, there's like this higher standard that you have to reach to actually be attractive.
In conclusion, the ugly truth about white supremacy is that women are used as a commodity. Their purity is used to justify violence against people of color, and this extends to racist tropes of old. I mean, I don't want to list even more examples and like say these people's names, but there has been recently lots of murders and mass shootings and people running over each other because of the radicalization of incel culture, because of white supremacy, and because they want to defend these white women. And of course, you know, any of these harmful structures cannot be upheld without help from good white women. Their phrase, not mine. And we've seen white women helping out with white supremacy since the beginning. I mean, there was literally a thing called the WKKK, or the Women's KKK. Although they usually don't make it high up in the white supremacist communities, they're still there and they're still enjoying what little power they're given. And here's my other point. Even if Mrs. Midwest is not a dyed-in-the-wool, blatant white supremacist, she still openly and proudly associates with red pillars and white pride accounts, and that alone is worthy of condemnation. What red pillars advocate for is sexual violence towards women, and what Nazis and white supremacists advocate for is the violence against people of color. That is a problem in and of itself, and it needs to be said that being sympathetic towards white supremacists is in itself an act of racism. You can't hang out with the KKK and then say you're not racist because you have a black friend. It's not enough to be anti-racist because all of us humans live in a white supremacist society, and it's held up with racist institutions, the school to prison pipeline, voter suppression, medical discrimination, police brutality. I mean, there's still sundown towns, for God's sake. Like, we do not live in a post-racial society. This shit is very important and needs to be talked about. And after, you know, making this video and, you know, acknowledging that I need to do something instead of just complaining about it, I have decided to donate my Hunt a Killer money to various Act Blue charities, such as the Bail, Mutual Aid, Racial Justice Organization, and the Police Brutality Funds. I don't really have anything funny to say. I don't have an outro. Thanks to Hunt a Killer for sponsoring this episode. Thank you, my wonderful patrons, for taking care of me financially, and shit. Be good to each other.